So we are now live. And all right, great. So before we actually start the class, don't forget you guys have water, you have coffee. Just be careful because one of my students earlier apparently said that the coffee was too strong and she wasn't feeling well. So if you need to dilute the coffee, there's water in the back. It's coffee made for Portuguese people. I don't know about you guys. So it may be a little stronger than usual. All right, so any questions regarding yesterday? Let me ask the question a little different. What do you remember from yesterday? Brokers. Brokers what? Broker of? Record. And who's that person? Me? Oh, thank you. That's great.
The guy that pays you.
The guy that pays you. That's all you need to know. It's the guy that pays you. You cannot get paid by anybody else. That's all you need to know. That was a perfect answer. All right, cool. So as long as you remember that, we're good. Do you remember when you get paid? Go.
10 days after it's closing.
10 days after closing. Can you go take the exam now? All right. 10 days after closing. Great. If I give you $10,000 in cash, what must you do with that money? Give it to the broker. Give me a receipt, obviously. And the money goes to the broker. And what does the broker have to do with that money? Within?
5 days. 5 business days.
Who said business? 5 business days, that's what it is. Okay? All right, cool. So these are just things to remember from the first 2 chapters. A lot of the stuff that we went in the first 2 chapters, we're going to go briefly here. Some of the stuff we briefly touched in the first 2 chapters, we're not going to go in detail. So today's chapter, we're going to break it into 2 parts. I'll tell you when I'll give you a break. But we're going to break it into 2 parts because it's a long chapter. It's a very, very important chapter. Okay? Now, before we start, let me ask you guys. You got your tag, Emerson, you got it? Where's your tag? All right. You failed the exam already. All of you that didn't have a tag.
The real estate exam, you have to have a tag?
That's it. You got to have a tag in real estate exam?
They will file you just for that?
No.
If it went, yeah.
Oh, I know that.
Can anybody realize what the tag is for?
Represent yourself to the buyer?
I'm sorry?
Represent yourself to the buyer?
Or what if you don't have a buyer? You know that I've had people that leave, students that leave this class and they still have the tag on, and people ask them, I'm glad I know your name, but what do you do? Right? It might look ridiculous that you have a tag on, especially I've seen some of my students wear the tag down here, I don't know why. I look at my belly, I don't know, that'd be it. But then people ask questions. That's what a tag is for. Somebody asked me if I work for a hotel, because this tag apparently looks like the hotel tags. I'm like, I don't care what it looks like or how ridiculous it is. It calls the attention. Now, within the class, it's great because it's a type of networking. We get to know each other's names. You guys got it? Simple as that. I got all your names right from day one, as I usually do, but you guys are looking at me, you're not looking at each other. But during the breaks or before the class starts or even after the class, get to network, get to know each other. It's very, very important because that's what this business is all about, isn't it? Talking to strangers. Oh, I'm sorry, people. Isn't that what it is? Because if you talk to the same people over and over, how much business do you expect to get?
No.
None. So get used to it. Walk around with that crazy tag. You want to buy the professional one that says, hello, my name is? Do it. You want to create your own tag on purpose? Go ahead. Can you show your tag, Lucy? That looks nice. See? That's it. Lucy upgraded. That's all it is. All right. I go with the cheap tags. They work anyway. Whatever works. So somebody said the other day about the colors of my logo, which are very similar to the colors I have here. You know, when I looked at it, I thought like too cartoonish, too crazy. You know what? It stands out.
People look at things that stand out.
That's it. I don't care if I have the most professional logo in the world, which is amazing. I drew it. But I don't care about the colors, which are amazing. I picked them. What I care about is that from a distance, from afar, our signs are seen before anybody else's signs. That's what it is. Right? When you see a Remax sign, those colors that they have stand out compared to everybody else's as well. When you see the Weichert signs, the yellow, bright yellow, they stand out. And then there's other companies out there that have these signs that kind of blend with nature, or blend with a house or with a neighborhood. Like you're driving by, so if there's a car in front of it, the car is gray and the sign is gray, you don't see it. You see my point? It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be there and stand out. You guys need to stand out. Okay? So, with that being said, we're going to talk about agency, brokerage, and ethical considerations. So pretty much how you represent yourselves. Now that we spoke about all this of being flashy to being out there, right? How can you represent people? How do you present yourselves to people? And what duties come with that, okay? So, you're gonna go to page 22. And it says, brokerage defined. Now, brokers defined. The business of bringing buyers and sellers together in the marketplace is called brokerage. So what are we doing? We're brokering your deal because we don't sell, we don't buy. We're the middleman or middlewoman, right? That's what it is. So in the real estate business, a broker is defined as a person, please highlight, a person who is licensed to assist others in real estate transactions and to receive compensation for those services. You guys notice that we're missing somebody here? Oh, a couple people, but there's one in particular that's missing. We lost Travis. Maybe because we couldn't pay his cousin. I don't know. They all got it. Anyway.
He had the other class on Tuesday.
Yeah, I know, I'm just messing. I'm glad you're paying attention to that part. And the brokers. Got it. Speaking of which, does everybody have access to the Facebook group? Anybody that does not have access yet? You don't? I added you. You sent me a request? Okay. Do me a favor, can you check and send it again? But I just added you. I added most of you this afternoon, so make sure you have access, very important, because you're going to receive notifications. I invited you to the group. You need to accept. And every time there's a new video or a new post, you're going to receive notifications of everything that I'm doing. Okay?
And the practice test is on that page also, right?
The practice test, the one that's there, I only recommend you try it out when you're like towards the end. So you're at least chapter 20. So there's 22 chapters. If you're by chapter 20, I'm serious though.
Okay.
I'm serious though, because if you pass, you're 90% of it, 20 chapters. If you pass then go straight to the school exam. Just get it done, get out of the way. Simple. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, you just send me those requests?
You accepted.
I did, right? Yeah. All right, cool. I had accepted. Did you receive the request to join the group? Sorry, I just want to make sure everybody's. I can't find you here. Sure? I accepted you?
Yeah.
Do me a favor, just shoot me a message on the message, please. Yeah, I just did this afternoon, I'm sorry. So I just want to make sure everybody's there. Katie, I just added you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Send me a message.
You send me a message? And Got it. Hey. We're just waiting for you.
Hello,
That's it.
I appreciate you.
You're gonna pay extra for that.
Oh, she's the broker.
I just added you early. No, sorry. I had invited you already, so check you should have an invitation. And Amir, what happened here? Could you please accept the request I just sent you? And I'm going to send you another one right after. This one's your accept. All right, cool. So back to the live streaming. And so what we're saying is that in the real estate business, a broker is defined as a person who's licensed to assist others. You guys already know all this, and to get compensated for these services. A real estate salesperson, most of you, 99% of you here in the class, works on behalf of and is licensed to work under the supervision of the broker, right? That's what you said. Great. All right, so years ago in New Jersey and elsewhere, this is where we start complicating things right from the get-go. Years ago in New Jersey and elsewhere, the principal, known as the client, who employed the broker was almost always an owner who wished to sell a property. So usually we used to represent, or traditionally we used to represent the sellers. Good? Now, this means the broker would represent sellers only. So the real estate broker acted as seller's agent and was usually compensated with a commission if a ready, willing, and able purchaser was procured. In this traditional transaction, the seller was the client to whom specific duties were owed. It's in green, so make sure you highlight, underline, put stars. And the buyer was the agent's customer, whom the agent must only treat fairly and honestly. I see the mix you have going on there. That bottle of water is vodka, and then you have the pineapple on the side.
The little chaser.
Yeah, that's it. It's trying to fool me. 1, 2, 1, 2. Great exercise. All right, very important you guys understand what's in green right here. When you represent someone, that someone becomes your client, your principal. I'm going to explain that a lot better in a little bit. But client or principal. And everybody else, the people that you don't represent, become your customer. So in this case, the buyer was the customer. And what I want you to think of when I go to the next one, because it's exactly the same, it's just the opposite end. What I want you to think of is if you work for a store, right? Let's say you work for a store, a restaurant, whatever. So let's say you work for Verizon. I'm not advertising Verizon, I'm just using it as an example. Well, let's say you work for Verizon. I don't even have Verizon. But let's say you work for Verizon. Somebody walks in and says, I want a free plan. Are you going to offer a free plan? No. If you work at a restaurant, right? Somebody walks in the restaurant, I want a free meal. Are you going to give a free meal? Most likely not. And even like that, you know, so not every restaurant is going to do that. Not every employee is going to do that. Because the employee is going to look out for the employer. Oh, it's paycheck, because that's what's most important. Yeah, you're not passing this. Here's the thing. If the seller hired you, and the seller is your employer, and you are the employee, you got it? So your job, your duty is to protect the seller's interest, your employer's interests.
Of the broker.
Nope.
The
seller.
The customer.
The customer is the buyer, the one you're going to show the property to. Remember this. Who hires you? The employer. So if the seller hired you, the seller is the employer. You got to remember this. We're going to go over this in a second as well. You are independent. Your broker is not your boss. Your broker is your sponsor. You are the boss. So, of yourself at least. And then when you get hired by the seller becomes your boss on top of that. For that period of time, the seller becomes your boss. So, who do you represent when you're employed by someone? The employer, the seller, the principal, client. They all mean the same. Everybody that walks through the door to see your employer's house, so the seller's house, everybody that walks in, they're customers, which you have to treat fairly and honestly. If they walk in there and say, hey, I want the house and everything that's in it, if the seller's not including it, then are you going to say yes to that client? To that customer, to the buyer? No. You're going to protect your client's interest. The seller's not including furniture, is not including the kids, the spouse. No, they're not included. Okay? Very important. So, today, however, agency relationships have become more complex than the old seller-based model. A prospective buyer or person seeking property to rent can also be a principal and hire a broker to act as a buyer's broker or buyer's agent. Okay? So what we're saying here is that in this type of relationship, who is the client now?
Whoever hired you.
Whoever hired you. So in this case is the buyer. The buyer hired you. Right? This is the person to whom you owe specific duties. So now you go with your buyer and you're going to go see somebody's house. If you don't represent that somebody's house, so that seller, right, then that person is now your customer who you have to treat honestly, fairly, and honestly. That's it. All right, to make this simple, the person you represent, make sure you write this down, the person you represent, or the person that hired you, is your client or principal. Okay, the person you represent is client or principal. The one you don't represent is your customer.
Unfortunately, you can't even see the one that pays you as your client.
Nope. I'm actually going to go over that right now. That's the beauty of the real estate world. You could be hired by one and get paid by another.
Is your client, right?
Say it again.
The person you represent is your client?
Client or principal, which I'm going to explain that in a second. It means the same. Whoever you represent is your client or principal. Whoever you don't represent is your customer. If it's a client or principal, we owe specific duties. If it's the customer, then we just got to treat fairly, honestly, smile, nod, say yes to that, but never have to follow through. Okay. Isn't that what we do in the restaurant business? People walk in, they're like, hey, sir, how are you? Can you please leave the tip and get out? Don't even eat. Okay? We just want to get paid and get out. Isn't that what you guys do? Anybody works in restaurant business? I used to work in restaurant business. And I know how some people work. It's literally get out. Anybody been to Applebee's or any of those TGI Fridays?
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys realized that it's just like either teenagers or, right, people that don't care. They just, I find it funny because when I used to work in the restaurant business, if you held a phone, you were fired.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'll be right there.
You know, when I used to work for a cell phone company, I couldn't be on my phone.
What? Working for a cell phone company, you can be on your phone? You were testing the abilities of your,
Until I was a manager.
what company did you work for?
MetroPCS.
Oh, okay. Now I understand why you couldn't be on your phone. Anyway, let me not go there.
It was years ago.
Yeah, it wouldn't work anyway. So,
That was before it became T-Mobile.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, a couple days ago.
Last week.
Funniest thing is that AT&T tried it, and they backed out of the deal. Then MetroPCS actually agreed to it.
Wait, but you say you're not with Verizon, so who are you with?
Listen,
If you're not with T-Mobile, you got some problems.
you don't need to know who I'm with, okay? It's private. I'm with something that's gonna be very well known pretty soon.
That
Google.
company,
That company. I don't know what that company
the company you with.
is. Google Fi. It's growing. And they're using the T-Mobile towers anyway, so.
So you with T-Mobile? Okay.
Nope.
Yeah.
Bouncing off T-Mobile towers for now. I just keep bouncing, that's what it is. That's who I'm with. All
That's
right,
why he can't answer.
you guys done with this? I'm sorry, you done with this? The highlighting? Great. So it is also possible, it's in green. It's also possible for a licensee to function as a transaction broker, working with a buyer, seller, or both, but without. Please underline, double underline, triple underline, put arrows, bubbles, stars, whatever you have to put, without representing either one, but functioning as the manager of the transaction. In this case, no agency relationship is created. Okay? So you can be the seller's agent, you can be the buyer's agent. We're going to talk about it in a little bit. You can represent both. Or as a transaction broker, you represent none. As a transaction broker, who do you represent? The transaction only. You just want to make sure that it completes. That's it.
So you just pay for the check.
You're there for the check. That's what it is. You do some work. Just, I'll explain that in a second. All right. The creation of agency is determined not by who pays the commission, but in most cases, a contractual agreement between the broker and the buyer or the seller. So my question now is, who pays the commission?
The seller.
Nope. Sorry? Anybody? You're all wrong. Thank you, Kevin. Who pays the commission, Kevin? The broker pays the commission. Huh?
How?
And how? Who do you work for?
But I'm talking about who pays the broker.
I didn't ask that. I asked who pays the commission.
The person who pays the broker.
Who are you? Salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
So pays your
So
commission.
Who pays my commission? Okay. You didn't put that key word in the sentence.
State exam. Pay attention. Because that's what it is. So who pays the commission? The broker. Now the question is, who pays the broker?
The seller.
And you are wrong.
The buyer or the seller?
The buyer or the seller. Whoever agrees. See, most of the times the seller has already agreed to pay the other side's commission. Most of the times. In our negotiations, say, Mr. Seller, commission is 6% because I'm splitting 3% for me and 3% for whoever brings a buyer. In some transactions, like bank-owned properties, they give you 1.5% and let the buyer get paid by whoever brings. The buyer agent get paid by whichever buyer they bring. They have a premium to pay. Does that make sense? So the seller, because it's negotiable, we talked about this yesterday, because the commission is negotiable, the seller is entitled to say, wait a minute, I'm hiring you as a listing agent, right? Why do I have to pay the other side? Now, in this business, because it's sales business, you either selling or being sold, right? You're either selling on why, Mr. Seller, you should pay both sides commission, right? Or you're being sold by the seller on why they should not. Does that make sense? So there's a great movie about this. It's actually about the Wall Street, but it explains this. The Boiler Room. Has anybody ever heard of this movie with Ben Affleck? Write it down, watch it.
The one with the
Great.
little kid? No. The homeless guy?
No. Oh, okay. Yeah, you went from a white guy to a black guy, but I got it. You're talking about Chris Gardner, the story of Chris Gardner, Pursuit of Happiness, and that's with Will Smith.
I'm horrible with names.
Every time I see Will Smith now, it's gonna be, Ben Affleck. Can you guys picture that? No, but that's an amazing story, probably one of the best movies I ever watched. But what I'm talking about, it's different. The boiler room is about understanding that sales happen at every time, okay? If you're in a relationship, there's a sale happening all the time. Like, honey, where are we going for dinner? Wherever you want, baby. Right? You're trying to sell on the fact that she's in control or he's in control, and then at the end, you're really in control. It's always like that. If you have kids, they're always in control. No matter what you do, listen, do your homework and I'll give you a surprise at the end.
And they're the best negotiators.
They are the best negotiators. So the thing is, you're either selling or being sold. Do you have friends? Does anybody here have friends? No? Great, perfect. If you have friends, at one point you negotiated, didn't you? Why should we be friends? Are you guys understanding this? So there's always a sale happening. So you're saying that the seller pays, not always. Because being a negotiation, seller has the right to reject the payment to the other side. I just wanted to clear that out. Okay? So who pays the commission? Whoever agrees. It's based on a contractual agreement. The seller can even say, I'm not paying any commission. If it's for sale by owners, sometimes. That's the reason why it's a for sale by owner. They don't want to pay commission. If the deal is good, maybe you can convince the buyer to pay the commission. You see what I'm saying? Yes, Kevin.
Wait, so let's say the buyer would pay out of his own pocket to the agent, basically.
Well, not to the agent, to the brokerage. Just like the seller pays out of his pocket to the brokerage. So at closing, instead of just a down payment, they have to come up with extra funds. And this doesn't happen all the time, obviously.
Yeah.
Most of the times the seller agrees. But like I was saying, if you go to auction properties online, it says already 5% buyer's premium. So they're saying that the buyer is going to pay for the commission.
So that's what that premium is
That's what
for.
it is. I used to work for a dealer and I've understood.
You used to work for who?
Car dealer.
Oh, the car dealer.
But it's funny because some of them charge the
She
premium.
worked everywhere.
It's-
Everywhere.
I
I'm like,
like it. I like selling stuff.
Some of them have a premium that still
Salary sold.
is not willing to pay a commission.
I'm sorry?
Some of them have a premium and still not willing to pay a commission.
It's part of it.
Yeah, one time I didn't get commission out of a car. I just got like the percentage of the basically whatever it was sold.
That sucks.
Yeah, it did. I was expecting that money.
I
Like,
couldn't do the car dealership. That lasted
it was hard.
It's annoying.
It was.
Then I met him right after.
Even more annoying. You're saying yes, are you supposed to say no?
Oh my bad.
No, Bruno, you're amazing, you're the best.
I'm sorry. I came
All right,
back.
agency in front, you did come back because you love punishment. Agency, in front of agency, I want you guys to write employer, employee relationship. Employer, employee relationship. Because the term agency means that somebody hired your services and created that agency agreement. Every time you see the word agency, you've heard of this, right? Temp agencies,
Mhm.
right? They're helping broker something there, which is your employment. So agency is employer-employee relationship. So once you become an agent of somebody, they hired your services. Trying to make this as clear as possible and going as slow as possible in this chapter. Yesterday, I sped up in a lot of things because today, we're going to go in detail. All right, so the role of the broker as an agent of his or her principal is a fiduciary relationship that falls within the requirements of law of agency. A fiduciary relationship is one of trust and confidence. Make sure you underline that. Fiduciary means trust and confidence. That means that the agent is responsible for the money and or property of others. Isn't that what the seller does when they hire you? They're saying, you are now responsible for my property and the amount of money I'm going to make. That's what it is. They trust you to market their property to the best of your abilities. And if you have a buyer, isn't it the same thing? They trust you, right, to get the best deal possible for their money. So this means that it requires putting the principal's interest first. Make sure you highlight, underline, put stars, arrows, bubbles. This is the most important thing you have here. It requires putting the principal's interest first, above all others, including the broker's own interest.
So in other words, the interest of the buyer, the seller, but he's the main principal.
So the way it works is very simple. Client, you, everybody else. Unfortunately, some agents are agents, everybody else. Agent, everybody else. That means they only care about their commission, getting paid, right? Isn't that what Katya was saying?
It's not a friendship.
I'm sorry, friendship?
Yeah, with the customers. And
Well, you can have friendship with the customers, but we're talking about business. And getting referrals and all that. Sure.
Yeah. Can make more money.
Hopefully, you cared so much for your client that you built
I trust.
a trust and relationship.
Yeah. That's
Right?
what I'm looking for.
That's what you're looking for. Great. And
Can't
then
get rich.
the money will come. Right?
You can get rich just by one person.
Nope. But unfortunately, do you know what realtors are? This is gonna sound bad because we're live, but they're you seen those animals that have these things here? What is it?
Those blinders, like
Those blinders? Like what kind of animals?
horses.
Horses or mules, which are very stubborn. Like this. The worst part about realtors, and I am one, so and then you guys are gonna be realtors. The worst part about realtors is that not only do they have the blinds here, like mules, what we do with the mule, we put the carrots right in front of them. Right? So the carrot's dangling right here, so the mule keeps pushing through. Right? Guess what realtors see? What's right in front of their face. And they work for that commission. They do the best for that commission, and they break every relationship possible. See, my business is built on referrals. We talked about this yesterday. Right? You've been doing this for 3 years. Your business was built on what?
Referrals.
Right, and screwing up everybody else too.
Not at all.
Not at all. Great. See what I'm talking about? It's about building relationships. So just like you're talking about, if you don't build, you won't have referrals. If you have no referrals, you're constantly working, which sucks.
And spending money.
Exactly. Constantly working, spending money, and it sucks. I barely work anymore to get leads. They come to me, both in the real estate, in the school, and everything else that I participate in. Right? I'm not trying to say I'm the best, but it's exactly the principle that we were just talking about. Building relationships. Some of them even invite me for lunch. Like Jenny today. Demanded for me to get out of class. Get out of class and come to lunch now. That's how it was. That's why I kicked you out early. It was sushi. Of course it was good. Loved it. Oh, the company. Yes, it was great too.
I wasn't talking because they also my food.
The food was. All right. Very important. Types of agency. So there's 3 different types of agency you guys need to pay attention to. There's universal agent, so just highlight for now. Universal agent, I'll explain in a second, has the authority to represent the principal in all matters that can be delegated. He or she can, right on top, he or she can enter into any contract on behalf of the principal without prior permission.
What does that even mean?
I'll explain it all in 1 second. Highlight the next one. You have general agent. A general agent is empowered to represent the principal in a broad range of matters. The general agent may bind the principal to any contracts within the scope of his or her authority. And finally, we have special agent. A special agent is authorized to represent the principal in one specific capacity only. Okay? So what's the difference between these 3? Remember, we're talking about agency, we're not talking about real estate agency. We're talking about the concept of agency altogether. Employer, employee. So universal agency, I want you to write full powers. Full powers. What does that mean? It means that whoever hired you gave you full powers to represent them to the best of your ability. Again, it's not for real estate only. In this case, the best example that I try to give is if you're parents. If you're parents, you do everything in your power to make sure your kids have the best, right? Say yes,
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah.
Are there parents here? Raise your hand if you're a parent. Because that took a while. I mean, only Malik was like, yeah. Everybody else was like, maybe. Just maybe. All right, so you do everything that's best for your kids. Now, did you ever go to your kids and be like, hey, I don't know how old your kids are, but let's say they're young kids. Did you ever go to them and say like, hey, we're moving across the country? What do you think? Give me your opinion, like 5 years old. Give me your opinion. Do you do that?
No.
No, we're moving because that's what I believe is best for you. Does that make sense? As long as I do it in your best interest, right, my child, right, I can do this. Once you're 18, you can make your own decisions. Until then, I'll do what I think is best. You got it? Universal agent. Think about also somebody that has a medical directive, a living trust, right, which says, if I ever get in a position, right, physically or psychologically, so mentally, where I cannot perform, right, you have the authority to act on my behalf. So imagine you're in a coma, right? Don't imagine like a heart because it wanted to happen. Let's not pronounce that to the world. But imagine somebody's in the coma. We don't go there and say, hey, could you blink twice to let me know if I can sell your house in order to keep you alive? You see what I'm saying? So that's a universal agent. I have the right to take over, sell your house, and keep on paying for those medical bills. That's a universal agent. Full powers. I don't need your permission. I'll just do whatever I need to do for you. Yes? Select power of attorney. No. We're going to talk about power of attorney after that. Because power of attorney does not have full powers. Okay? Next, we have general agents. In front of general agent, I want you to write some powers. Some powers. Now we can relate to real estate. See, a general agent is like a property manager. See, the property manager handles more than one thing for the owner, right? They handle budgets, employees, rentals, right? Contracting for services, insurance. They handle a lot of stuff for the owner, but do they have full powers? Can the property manager sell the property without knocking on the owner's door and say, hey, I think we should sell? No. So they have some. They're limited. They do have more than one power. An array of matters that they handle for the other person, but they cannot do just whatever they want. And the final one is special agent. I want you to write one power. When I say power, I'm talking about authority, obviously, to work on somebody else's behalf. So in this case, a special agent, as it says, is authorized to represent the principal in one specific capacity only. Who do you think, like we talked about universal agents, general agents, and now a special agent. Who do you think are the special agents?
Real estate agent.
And who's the real estate agents here?
We pass this.
When you pass, you're going to be real estate agents. So that means that you're all, say,
I'm a special agent.
special. You're a special agent? Well, I know you're definitely special, but a few years ago, I used to say that that's what I wanted to put on my business card.
Special agent.
Special Agent Bruno, because that's what I am. Special agent, but it'll be weird getting to somebody's house, right? Flipping the wallet, right? Imagine you get in there. Hey, Special Agent Bruno, can I sell your house? It'll be weird. Plus, my broker at the time said no, we cannot do that in our business cards. I tried. All right. So, why special agents? Why are we special agents? Who can explain?
If we either represent the buyer or the seller, in most cases,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a specific duty whether it's the buyer or the seller.
Great. So, If you hired, let me just elaborate on that. If you're hired by the seller, what are you hired to do?
Market and sell a home.
Representing their best interest.
That as well, but market and sell a home while representing their best interest. All right, who was it? I heard somebody was gonna say sell. If we're hired by the seller, we're not hired to sell because the seller sells and the buyer buys. Does that make sense? All right, we don't buy anything. I always talk about this. I think I mentioned yesterday, we're like Facebook. We don't have any content, right? Like Facebook has no content. It's provided by everybody else. Like Uber, they don't have cabs. Everybody else provides that service. They're just a platform. We realtors are the platform for the seller and the buyer to. Correct. All right. So the reason why we're special agents, we help the seller sell, and we'll help the buyer buy, but each contract is its own. What do I mean by this? Let's say you represent the seller and the seller has 10 different properties. Can you help the seller sell 10 different properties?
Yes.
Of course. You hope they have like 20 properties to sell, right? There's some people right now, they're just unloading properties. They're crazy. Because the market is so high, they just want to unload. Right? Now, the question is here, if you have a special agency, do you have one for 10 properties?
No.
So, you're saying no, but you...
You have a contract for each property.
Exactly. So each property is its own special contract, its own special authorization or specific authorization. So that means that once you sell property A, your relationship with that person, business relationship with that person, has ended towards that property. Property B, C, and so on. Each one has its own independent contract. Sometimes we have package deals where property A and B got to be sold together. But even so, they have their own separate listing, their own separate MLS ID and everything. This type of contract is per parcel of land. You guys got it? Questions on this? No questions? Great. Awesome. Now, wired one. Here's my question. You were talking about power of attorney.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Huh?
I didn't realize it's further down the page.
It's fine. Usually it is further down the page, as you should know by now. Traditionally, when somebody asks me a question, I'm about to go there, which is normal. It's normal. Like, you start developing your brain into the real estate business, they're like, oh, what about this? What about that? It's normal. But look here. Often one person is authorized to act for someone else in a legally binding capacity. See, as special agents, can we do anything that's legally binding? And make sure you understand. Can we sign documents on behalf of somebody else?
No.
No. But as a power of attorney, let's say your buyer, right? Malik, you're going to go on vacation. You're my buyer. He goes on vacation, and then Tiffany, you're going to call me and say, hey, Bruno, closing is in 2 days. I'm happy. You're happy. But wait, there's a problem. The buyer is not here. We're good so far? So here's what you're going to do. You're going to ask Katie to be your power of attorney. That means you're going to appoint the authority to somebody else that will be there the day of the closing to sign on your behalf. Can you come back from vacation and say, hey, I did not purchase this property? No. The moment you gave that power of attorney, it is specific to that particular transaction, to that particular property, at that particular time. You guys got it? And then it's over. So that's what a power of attorney is. It's legally binding. You give power to somebody else to be you for that one day. Okay? And a realtor cannot do that. I mean, you could become the power of attorney on top of it, which I definitely do not recommend. Keep things separate. But we don't have the authority to bind anybody to anything. And that's the difference between power of attorney and everything else. And in this case, Katie would be named attorney in fact. That's what it is. Do you have to have a license to be an attorney in fact?
No.
No. I was gonna say something else. I'm gonna dwell into that. I'm gonna say it. Attorneys have no licenses either. Anyway, fiduciary responsibilities. They're like us. Like we have the NAR, they have the bar. It's just a membership.
Wow.
That's all it is. But anyway, fiduciary responsibilities. Do you guys remember what fiduciary meant? Trust and?
Care.
Mm-mm. Confidence. Trust and confidence. You're seeing care over there and get distracted. That's what happens in the state exam. Too much info, you get distracted. But fiduciary means trust and confidence. It says right here. It's a special relationship of trust and confidence. Now, this confidential relationship carries with it certain duties that the agent must perform. So underlying duties, underline must perform. All right, we got 2 viewers from home. What are these duties? We have care, obedience, accounting, loyalty, and disclosure. We're going to go in detail to all of these, but you're going to learn that one of the things that I like is acronyms. And one of the acronyms they have here is COLE. So when you represent somebody, you got to have a
Cool.
COLE. And that's what's happening now. I'm representing you guys and the school, and I have a COLE. So that means I care enough. I will obey the instructions. Not really. Hold proper accounting. Be loyal. And
Funny.
funny. Thank you. Disclosure. That's what it is. So, with that being said, before we go and start highlighting, because this is going to go crazy from here on. What does it mean? And notice how Sir Jenny just walked away on this part. What does it mean to care? Wow. Woo. Great.
Responsibility.
Ah. Wow.
Care about your business.
Care means to care. That's great. All right, 15 seconds. Raise your hand again if you have kids. Okay, great. What is it called now? It's not DIFAS anymore. It's Child Protective Services, MetroPCS. Just saying. Because if it took you more than 15 seconds to figure out what it means to care, it means to put somebody's interest above yours. Right? That's what it means to care. Right? If your child is sick, you could be sick, you could be dying, you could be like tired, but you're still going to take care of your child, right? If your child is hungry, you're going to prepare food for your child first before you prepare for yourself. It's crazy, right? You always take care of your child first. Now, your clients are like babies. Thank you, Sonia. To put someone you care first before you. So got that. Perfect. Are you guys understanding this? That means caring. In case parents, you did not know what it was. By the way, she's only answering this now. Sonia, she answered now. Because the first time around, she failed as well. It took her a while. Right, Sonia? Till the end of the class, she was still wondering what caring meant.
Oh.
So, I'm just kidding. You're welcome. All right, so here you go. The agent must exercise a reasonable degree of care and diligence while transacting business on behalf of the principal. Now, brokers and agents are expected, by virtue of their licenses, to have expertise greater than that expected from the average person. As a result, they may be liable to the principal for any loss resulting from negligence and carelessness. So, Kathy, do me a favor. Here's my business card. Can you tell me how long I've been doing this? How long I've been in the real estate business?
It doesn't say.
Look again. Pay close attention to it.
It's a small print.
Small, very small. Can you please tell me? Don't look at me, look at the card.
Does not say.
Are you sure? Pay close
Or
attention.
article.
Say it again. Referrals are welcome, so that says I've been doing this for a very long time. Bring me referrals. Is it the nice suit that I'm wearing that day?
No.
That shows how much of a professional I am, so therefore I'm doing this for at least like 100 years?
No.
No?
You don't look old enough in the picture.
In that picture. You know what? I need to sign off on your papers, you know that, right? Okay. Okay.
You just, it doesn't really matter how many years you definitely apart, make it look like.
For the,
Just
All right.
It's a make it.
you can give it if you want. Fake it till you make it. Wow. This is getting better. All right, so here's the thing. As soon as you get your license, let's say you passed the exam, right, already. You submit it to the state, and your license is now active. What is one of the first things you're going to do? Start telling the world that you are in real estate business. So when you tell the world you're in real estate business, one of the ways that you do that is by getting business cards, right? And you're going to look very professional, correct? So what does that mean to the world,
You've been doing it for a while.
right? So now, whether you have your license since today, or 10 years, or 100 years, it does not matter. What matters is that you are the professional. And that's what it says. By virtue of your license, you are expected, right? There's higher standards now. You're supposed to know. The question is, what do you know as soon as you get your license? Absolutely nothing. Because my job here is to talk about theory, the basics, the laws, the rules, the regulations, teach you how to pass an exam. Who's going to teach you about real estate? Your broker, supposedly, right? So you know nothing. So how can you help a client? Because now I give my business card, and Katya goes like, "Oh, you're a realtor? Emerson and I have been looking to buy a property for a long time. Could you help us out?" I'm like, I was just getting coffee. What do you mean help you out? Right? But no, what am I going to say? Because I'm very confident in what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. There's no one better than me. Right?
Yeah.
So what's the first thing I'm going to ask?
Sure.
I'm going to ask you guys for all your money because I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, the first thing that I should do is care so much that I'm going to look for help. Because I don't know how to do these things. Look, first day, here's the things that I need to know when helping a seller or a buyer. It's very similar. The duty of care requires the sales agent to, among other things, be knowledgeable about all aspects of the property to arrive at a reasonable listing price. Discover and investigate material facts. Try to negotiate the highest possible sales price. Meet deadlines and closing dates. And advise the seller on ways to effect the sale. From day one, we know how to do all this stuff? Of course not.
From day 20 they got.
I know people with 20 years that don't.
That's what I meant.
I know that's what you meant. That's why I cleared it. Now, the failure to be properly informed about a property's condition and value and to effectively navigate the transaction through to closing constitutes a breach of duty of care. That means you did not care enough for your client to ask for help. Okay? You know why? Because we are greedy. We want the full commission. Now, can anybody tell me what's 100% of nothing? Zero. So go ahead, be greedy. Same thing on the buyer side. The buyer's agent is expected to inform the client of whatever problems can be discovered in the property, advise on probable market value, help negotiate the lowest possible purchase price, advise on financing options, and monitor the progress of the purchase until transfer of title. So our job is literally, you guys remember the babies, the children, is literally to grab their hand and help them cross the street to their house. You got it? Both on the seller side or the buyer side. Simple. Any questions here? That's what it means to care, by the way.
And you always, as long as you're in this business, you're always learning something more every time.
Absolutely. Always learning. Now, the agent, by the way, if anybody says they know it all, they're the biggest fools in the world. Do not work with those people. Except me, I know everything. Now, the agent is expected to deliver quality of service that a normal person would expect from a reasonably prudent agent. So actions breaching this obligation might be failing to present the written offer before it expires, neglecting to mention in the purchase contract any fixtures or personal property desired by one of the parties, neglecting property being managed for another, improperly handling escrow deposits. And I don't know if you guys remember, but Katie yesterday, my top producer, you guys remember this? Katie was always forgetting something. What was that? Signatures. I hope you guys realize along the way how I get to remember all your names. It's called role play. Always picking on somebody, right? Right? I'm always picking on somebody. Very important. Now look here. Rookies. Brand new, right? The rookie residential agent confronted with an opportunity to list shopping plazas should probably approach an experienced commercial broker with a request that they work together to list and sell the property. Otherwise, please highlight, underline, put stars. The duty of observing an appropriate standard of care may be breached by an inexperienced agent. That makes sense. After all this, I think it makes sense. If you have no experience, find somebody with experience. Otherwise, you could get sued. All right. Obedience. Now, the agent is obligated to obey the principles. Look what I have in green. Lawful instructions. Does it say all instructions? No. Lawful. The agent is not, however, required to obey unlawful or unethical instructions. For example, violating fair housing laws or misrepresenting the property's condition or the buyer's finances. So you're talking to the seller of this building and the seller goes like, hey, there's mold in the basement. I'm going to paint it. Don't tell anybody. We're going to learn in this chapter that anything and everything that could affect the potential transaction must be disclosed. The proposed transaction must be disclosed.
You all have to know?
Absolutely. If there's mold and you don't know about, is your offer the true offer? The true value? What you really believe it to be? Right? It's like me going to Walmart, getting one of those rings that they have there, and proposing, saying it's the 10-carat ring.
10 carats is not that.
I'm sorry? I'm being cheap. I'm not just saying something. And then I'll bring you the 10 carats. Anyway. The point is, you cannot sell something that is not. All right? So that's anything that's unlawful, you
We have
are...
to discuss with the broker, or have to discuss with the buyer?
No, you have to tell the buyers anything that's...
Or know how.
We're going to go over this in this chapter. Anything that's physical with the property, you must give it to the buyer. So if the buyer is represented, obviously you tell the buyer's agent, hey, there's these issues. You have to. Yes.
How come people
You
are
help
allowed
them
to-
paint? Oh.
How come people are allowed to be brokers if they have not participated in different aspects of real estate?
Very good question. The best answer I can tell you is if a veteran with a service connected with their disability can bypass the whole experience requirement,
Correct, you got that.
right? Then what else do you need me to say?
So who's supposed to train them if the vet is their broker? Who's supposed to train the newbie agent?
Hey, I'm not the real estate commission,
But you read this book that made no sense when it comes to that.
and I'll tell you the stuff that doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't matter what we dispute until the real estate commission changes those rules and regulations. It is what it is. You got it?
Yeah.
And again, I understand helping veterans, I understand. It's just not giving anything. Also, at the end, like right now, you're going to become a broker. That's your intention. Broker or broker salesperson, regardless. Your broker, whether you have experience in commercial or not, in industrial or not, he's going to sign off that you have experience in listings. You have experience in rentals. You have experience in residential transactions. The Real Estate Commission just wants to know that for the past 3 years, you've been involved in real estate transactions. That's all. There's nothing like you don't have to say, hey, I have 10% experience in this, 20% experience in that, 100% experience in whatever. No, they don't care. So those are the rules. Now, breach of duty of care. The agent must obey all the client's lawful instructions, we know this, such as 24-hour notice for showing, all offers to the listing broker, or all contracts must be accompanied by a pre-approved mortgage letter. Let's stop right here. Now, these are lawful instructions. It's a seller telling you this is how I want it. I usually recommend, when I have a listing, I recommend these three regardless. Why? 24-hour notice for showing. Why would I have a 24-hour notice for showing? Who can tell me that?
Make the seller aware,
Sorry?
so the seller could be aware.
So the seller can go home, like, hey, I'm going to show you property. No.
Well, somebody might be showing, so they could be arranged at home.
Ah, now you're getting somewhere. So not just making the seller aware, because whether it's 5 minutes or 24 hours, it's still making the seller aware. The idea behind it is that it gives enough time for the seller to organize the house. Like, you don't know how the seller got out of the house this morning. If they were late rushing, like I was this morning, the house is upside down. And then you call me and say, hey, Bruno, I want to show your house at 6 o'clock. And I'm like, well, it's 5:30. Am I going to have time to clean up the house?
No.
No, and here's what's going to happen. If the buyer does come and see the property, they're looking where not to step. It's not that bad, but I'm just giving you an example.
Tell the truth, bro.
Every joke has, like, anyway, so, but what I'm trying to say is they're not paying attention to the full potential of the property. They're paying attention to all the damages of the property, all the distractions of the property, not the full potential. All right, you said you worked at a car dealer? Well, you don't qualify as working at a car dealer. But, so if you work at a car dealer, then you know that you don't
Any little
put,
bent on the car would take the,
say louder.
any little bent in the car would take their the buyer's attention away to
Of
another
course.
car. They wouldn't get any commission out of it.
What if the car was not washed? It was dusty.
Dirty,
It was not
washed.
sparkling. Like, the engine is worse than the other one that has the dents, right? But this one's so shiny. I want this one, right? Makes a huge difference. You got the best car in the world.
You buy.
You don't take care of it.
In other words, you get people through the eyes, not
Mhm.
through the money or pocket.
That's right. Or through the stomach. That's usually what they say. You want to get married? Just feed them.
Not really.
No? You'll get there. All right. Failure to observe the duty of obedience. Now, however, some instructions must be disobeyed, such as any order to conceal a hidden defect, like mold, or to practice discrimination in the sale or rental of property. Tomorrow's chapter is about discrimination, so I'm going to skip this for now. Accounting, you guys already know that if I give you money, you have to hold proper accounting of that money, so just highlight the first sentence. Okay. And to look what it says at the bottom, right above breach of duty of accounting. What does it say?
Agent can have secret profit.
An agent can have secret profits, a bunch of it, right? It says an agent may not make any secret profit. What does secret profit mean?
Anything the broker doesn't know about.
Just the broker,
No, when you,
Cash transaction.
Or the seller.
or the seller, or the buyer, anybody.
you give it to the money aside.
Money on the side.
Oh, thank you for doing this, here you go.
So now, like,
What if they
since you
insist?
said it like that, if they insist.
Here's
Car
the
dealers.
number.
All tips have to be in writing, right?
That's it. So she just said, thank you, right? Thank you for the service, so here's extra. Can you get tips? Can you get
You
bonuses?
get both,
Yes.
but you cannot get it
Absolutely, you can.
out of it.
The thing is that it must be documented. It cannot be secret. It must be part of the closing. You guys got it? If they insist,
Even if it's
yes.
$1 extra.
Yep.
If they insist, yes, take it. After they put it on the HUD, which is the closing statement, right? Now, who gets the bonus?
The broker.
I like the way you said it. The broker. Yeah, the broker gets.
Even if the tip is for
Even
you,
if
the
it's
broker.
$1. Why is the tip for you? Who was hired in this transaction?
Broker.
The broker was, not you.
Oh, you just a running man.
Oh, not to be called something else, but yes, that's what it is. You're the errand boy. Anyway, you understand this? Even if it's $1, any payment out of a real estate transaction must come from your broker.
And it's up to the broker if he wants to split with you or not.
No, they will split. What's up to the broker
The
is to
amount.
give you the whole amount, or
Or
not.
to the split with it.
Yeah,
We'll be honest with the split.
this is why we negotiate up front. Hey, I got this listing, and this listing, they agree to bonuses. If the bonus comes to me, how are we gonna
No.
split?
Well,
Yeah, good luck with your broker.
be very nice for your bar, bring chocolate or whatever. Every
You
year
think you
bring a
can
nice
just bribe
present.
people with chocolate? It's not how it works.
Every happy birthday, give him a nice expensive present.
That's it. There goes your bonus.
No.
So might as well not. All right,
Once
you
in a
guys
year.
got the idea, right? You can have everything as long as it's disclosed and as long as you negotiate, right? You can never give money to people that are unlicensed. You can never receive money.
Oh, Travis is coming in now.
Okay, no, we're not talking about his cousin anymore.
I'm his cousin. Came to collect.
I did it on purpose because I saw the shadow. I'm like, okay, Travis is here. Really, McCafe? My coffee right there.
My cousin gave it to me.
Cousin, that's how you're getting paid, right? All right. So we were just talking about getting secret profits, so getting paid under the table, Travis. All right, those gift cards and all that stuff, can't do it. It has to be. You came right on cue. It's amazing. It has to be disclosed. You may not make any secret profits. If you watch the video from the beginning, we talked about you like, oh, just beginning to that.
I'm gonna go check it out.
You and your cousin, by the way. Did you say hi to your cousin?
Yeah. Cool. He said he wanted to reach out to you.
Cool. I'm not afraid. What you mean I can't get paid? All right. Breach of duty of accounting. It says right here, any money received from a client or that is being held in trust for a client must be scrupulously accounted for. We got this. And you already know they have those 5 business days to be deposited. We got all this. Let's go to loyalty. So you guys did not know right away what it meant to care. So maybe you know what it means to be loyal. Anybody? Jesus.
Don't leave one for the other person who's paying us more.
Say it again.
Don't leave one for the other person who's paying us more.
Paying in s'mores or marshmallows. Yes.
Paying us more.
A sport, yeah, I heard that.
Oh, whatever.
All right, 15 seconds again. This world is condemned.
Always have the principle.
You guys don't know what it means to be loyal? All right, raise your hand if you're in a relationship. Because I'm going to call them right now. Travel was like, oh, no, wait. Are you going to call who? That was funny. Did you see how quick he went like, oh.
No, I'm
Mhm.
trying to get my book together.
Couldn't get
Great.
a 50% interest before yours?
That was Karen,
Karen.
but good try.
No cheating.
Lo-
Oh, my bad.
It's pretty much that, but apparently nobody knows what that means now. So it's exactly that. To be loyal, it means you're gonna be trustworthy, right? And anything that's confided to you, you're not gonna go and give to the other person. So remember yesterday, we talked about open house, right? And my unlicensed assistant said they're getting a divorce. And what happened now? We hurt the seller's bargaining position. That's what it was. What if we know that the buyer has more money? We represent the buyer, right? And Travis, you're the buyer in this case. I know you have more money. And I go to you, Emerson, hey, here's my offer. My client's offer is $200,000. But by the way, they have like $500,000 in the bank. By doing this, what just happened? Emerson is gonna like, really? I'm gonna counter with $500,000. The house is listed for 300. Yes.
Even if you have a dual agency,
See, we're gonna go over that because with dual agency, I'm not bringing the highest price to the seller or the lowest price to the buyer. I'm doing everything else except for that. You guys figure it out.
what if you do both?
Sorry?
Do both? Oh, not the low one, but.
I don't think you guys understand. I have to sign off
Yeah, no.
on all these crimes you guys are talking about.
He signed off on mine, he'll sign off on yours.
Speaking.
Oh, my bad. I said
So
that.
for example, let's say a client finds a house for 100,000 and they want to negotiate lower than that. You're not. It's not your duty to just lower down the price. You have to speak with the broker first.
No. If you represent the seller, you're going to advise the seller on putting a lower offer. But you're advising the seller. You don't go, not putting a low offer, accepting a higher offer, counter offer, do whatever. If you're representing the buyer, then you're going to tell the buyer, hey, it's listed for 400, right? Mr. Buyer, let's offer 380. As an example, you're going to look out for the buyer's best interest, right? For the seller, you're going to go up. For the buyer, you're going to try to go down.
Yeah.
Whoever you
Sometimes,
represent.
yeah,
But you're not going to tell the other side the benefits, the pros and the cons of each person's individual situation. That's why being loyal to your client is that you know why they're selling.
You stay neutral.
And kind of, certain things, stay neutral. Okay? You guys got it? It says right here, an agent also cannot disclose any confidential facts that might harm the principal's bargaining position. In fact, on the next page, breach of duty of loyalty. We already covered all this. I just want you to highlight this. Put stars, arrows, bubbles, whatever you need to put. In green it says, profiting from a client's misfortune is forbidden. Right? So you know that the seller is going through divorce or losing their home or whatever situation might be. You're not going to take advantage and say, hey, Travis, any offer, let's close this deal tomorrow. They're desperate. That's me profiting from it. Right? I'm going to make less in commission.
Do people do that?
But I'm selling,
The investors will do it.
especially when they come
all
from
the
car dealers all the time.
time. You will be tempted by the investors.
Oh yeah, the investors will, yeah. But realtors, I'm messing with car dealers, right?
Yeah, it was hard, trust me.
No, but
So I gotta
listen,
get insurance.
out of all salespeople,
Yep.
out of all types of salespeople, right? Car salesmen are the worst. They're like bottom of the pit. No offense if there's any here. Bottom of the pit. Guess who comes second? Realtors. We're the worst people in the world.
What about insurance people?
Insurance
Oh.
people, no.
Lawyers.
Liars, the lawyers, those are not salespeople, but that was a good one. They're like bottom of the pit too. There's always good ones, but we're talking about in the majority. They're out there looking to make a quick buck and they don't care about their clients. And that's the difference. I'm trying to teach you how to do things the right way. I am joking around, obviously, but you have to do things the right way. Make less money, get more deals. Make a lot of money, you sleep with one eye open, and all of a sudden somebody comes through that door. All right? My pillow is very comfortable. I like to close both my eyes and enjoy that pillow. Does that make sense? All right.
I do that today.
I'm sorry?
I no longer sell cars, so I do that today.
I no longer sell cars, so I can sleep now, she says. It's funny. How'd you guys meet? Was it selling a car?
No.
No.
I don't sell car.
She probably was
She
buying
used
one.
to.
I used to sell cars.
She was selling you a car. No. That truck you
I
have?
like- it was about cars, but it wasn't selling cars. I like cars.
Got it. Cool. There was a sale though. All right, we talked about this before. There was a sale happened.
Nah.
For friendship to exist, somebody sold something. You complete me. You remember that? All right, disclosure. Now, from now on, we're going to be very, very serious about things. Disclosure. I want you to write in front of this, and I'm going to talk about it several times in this chapter. Anything and everything that could affect the proposed transaction must be disclosed. So let me repeat that. Anything and everything that could affect the proposed transaction, write that in front of disclosure. Anything and everything that affects the proposed transaction must be disclosed. Anything and everything that affects the proposed transaction must be disclosed. So it says right here, it is the agent's duty to pass on to the principal all facts or information that he or she obtains that could affect the principal's business or decisions. The agent, look, it's in green, must volunteer pertinent information whether or not the client asks. Some of us are like, oh, they didn't ask? I don't have to tell. The reality is, you have to. Okay? And this includes information that might affect the object of the agency, so the relationship, the true value of the property, and also possible legal consequences of contract provisions. Breach of duty of disclosure or notice. It says the law considers that any notice given to the agent has been given to the principal. The agent therefore has the duty to pass on any material information, and all written offers must be presented immediately. So anything that's given to you, any type of information that's given to you, has been given to your principal. Whether or not you relate the information, right? It is deemed received by the principal. Any questions here? Nope.
It's presented verbally, written.
Don't matter. Nope. As soon as you know about something that could affect the transaction, run. Tell your client. All right. Broker salesperson relationship. You guys already know this, so we're just going to highlight. We touched in detail in the first chapters. You already know that a salesperson is responsible to the broker under whom he or she is licensed. Because you're sponsored by Adidas, as an example, you're not going to be wearing Reebok. Does that make sense? So athletes get heavy fines for doing that. We do as well. If you represent one company, right? That's your sponsor. All right, Travis, you're messing with my equipment already. You're kicking my camera. Oh, sorry. My fault. You should. All right. All right, here's the thing. Salesperson and broker. You guys already know that a salesperson has no authority to make contracts with or receive compensation directly from anyone other than his or her supervising broker. We know this, right? And all salesperson's activities must be performed in the name of supervising broker. Very good. Let's keep going. Now, independent contractor versus employee. What's the difference between these two?
One has a W-2.
And the other one's a 1099. Good. That helps a lot.
One
So-
get paid for what they work for. One actually get paid just to go to the job.
Wow. I assume you had a job before and that's all you did.
I did.
Is Friday here yet?
I did.
Well, here's the thing. That's why employers pay you enough not to quit, and you do enough not to be fired.
Exactly.
That's the biggest difference between, you know what I'm talking about. She started laughing right away. Yeah, guilty. So, employer-employee relationship allows a broker to exercise certain controls over salespeople who are employees. The broker can require an employee to adhere to regulations such as working hours, office routine, and dress standards. As an employer, a broker is also required by federal government to withhold Social Security tax and income tax, right? Because here's the thing. The government doesn't trust you, so they ask your employer, hey, take it now before they run with it. Because that's the difference between a W-2 employee and a 1099 independent contractor. You get a full check and you're responsible to pay your own taxes. Okay? So it says right here, independent contractors assume the responsibility for paying their own income and Social Security taxes and must provide their own health insurance if such coverage is desired. The broker, please highlight, underline, put stars. The broker cannot require independent contractors to work certain hours or attend office meetings, nor can they pay them any salary. So somebody asked me the other day during the interview, so Bruno, how many hours do I have to do here? I don't know, whatever you want. You want to come here for 30 minutes a day? Come 30 minutes a day. You want to come here 24 hours? Just make sure you lock when you leave. Does that make sense? I could not require any specific amount of hours from you because you are independent, right? So the greater the number of broker-imposed controls over the independent, it could be construed as you having an employer-employee relationship. I cannot tell you what to do. Oh, it's mandatory meeting. You have to be here. Nope. You're independent. You're your own boss. So the only meeting you should have is right in the morning. Talking to yourself and having those affirmations is going to be an amazing day. I am the best. If you guys don't know how to do affirmations, search for a 4-year-old girl doing affirmations. She'll teach you how to do it. Okay? It's on YouTube. It's amazing. She's in front of the mirror and just yelling at the mirror how amazing she is and how she's going to have an amazing day. And you know what I'm talking about? Little blonde girl.
So with car dealers, car salespeople.
You were there for a week. What do you know?
That's what I'm asking the
Okay.
question. Would they be considered an employee, or would they be considered more 1099? Well,
How are you getting paid? W-2 or 1099?
W-2.
Employee.
But they get commission.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Okay.
Nope. Are you required to be certain hours?
Mm-hmm. So
Employee.
it's,
You could be an employee and just get paid.
well, the reason why I said that is because you said salary. It was like cannot.
No. As an independent contractor, right? So here, independent contractors in realty, I cannot offer you a salary. Now, can you be half and half, like be an assistant and be a licensed salesperson? Absolutely.
Okay, that's what I was
It's just that while you're working at the office, you get a salary for the duties performed at the office.
Okay.
You go out there and you sell a house, you get commission as independent contractor on that particular house.
Okay. So that makes
Okay.
sense.
But not every office, will give you half and half, depends what broker you're dealing with.
And also, if I have 100 agents, I'm not going to have 100 assistants. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So it depends on the needs of the office. Let's say you have a skill, like let's say one of you is a marketer. You're good at marketing. I need somebody to do marketing. So what am I going to do? Hey, you're licensed, so all your deals are going to be like this. But I'm also going to pay you an X amount of dollars every week to do marketing for me. Somebody here is a bookkeeper or an actual CPA. Same deal. Somebody here is very good at setting appointments. You know what? You're the one that's going to make the calls. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So not every brokerage will offer this stuff, but if they're smart, they leverage the people they have.
To keep them around.
That's it.
Make it
As long as they don't work for more than 25 hours a week, 3 years later, what can they do? That's it. So you built a team. Unless what? Not your cousin. No.
Veteran.
Oh, the veteran. Okay, that's what you're gonna say. Got it. But we're not gonna give him a job. All right, broker's compensation. You guys should already know this. Broker's compensation is specified in the listing agreement, buyer-broker agreement, management agreement, or other contract with the principal, and is subject to negotiation between the parties. Compensation is often computed as a percentage of the total amount of money involved, but it could also be a flat fee or hourly rate. Good luck with that one. Imagine billing for every minute that you handle a file. Yes, bill. Because sometimes it's as easy as that. Somebody just texted me this morning, "Hey Bruno, did you receive this?" I said, "Yes." And send out a bill, hourly rate. That's ridiculous. So that's why traditionally we do percentage, and some people will even take flat fees or prefer flat fees if they don't understand what a percentage is, which happens a lot. I'm not joking. All right, some people are more comfortable with looking at how much is going to cost me versus percentage, because I don't know how to calculate it. All right. Now, the commission or fee is usually considered to be earned when the broker has accomplished the work for which he or she was hired. Unless there's an agreement to the contrary, after a listing broker procures a ready, willing, and able buyer, the seller technically is liable for the commission. So let's stop right there. Here's my question. When do you earn your commission?
After this school.
When you bring the ready, willing, able buyer.
Ready, willing, and able buyer.
Signed contract.
When the client
Boom.
feels that you
Boom.
did your job,
Which is? What is your job?
close.
No.
Just
You're doing so well. So when you have a signed contract by a ready, willing, and able buyer, you've earned your commission. Now, if my question was, when do you collect your commission? Now, let me explain this better. Who has a job? Raise your hand. Sucks for you. Now, what I was trying to say is, just kidding. It's a joke, okay? Let everybody get that. So if you have a job, do you work 40 hours? Okay. Sometimes more, sometimes less, doesn't matter. But when do you get paid? At the end of 40 hours, the end of 80 hours? 40?
Okay, at the end of the week then.
At the end of the week you get paid? Anybody gets paid bi-weekly? Okay. So it doesn't matter how you get paid. The fact is, you worked 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday until 9 o'clock. You've earned 1 hour. When do you get paid? At the end of the week or in 2 weeks? You finished the whole day, you've earned your Monday, your 8 hours. You've earned it. When you collect? Later on. You finished the whole week, you've earned it. When you collect? At the end of it. Does that make sense?
Same
Earning
thing with
and
selling.
collecting is two separate things.
Same thing with the selling or buying.
What
You
do you
earn that money after the sale is done or the buyer is done.
No, you've earned it before, but you only collect
Collecting.
once it's done. That's what I'm trying to get at. There's two parts to the commission. Earning it for the work done, performed, right, or accomplished, and then collecting 10 days after the closing, right? You said 10 days after, right? So you were right on the collecting part, right? You guys were just wrong on the earning part.
Earning,
You
in
have
other
to know
words,
the
you have to
difference.
wait.
Earning, you wait. So that's exactly what we're going to go over right now. It says, a ready, willing, and able buyer is one who's prepared to buy on the seller's terms, is financially capable, and is ready to take positive steps towards the consummation of the transaction. Even though the fee is actually earned earlier, make sure you highlight, underline, put stars, arrows, bubbles. Even though the fee is earned earlier, most contracts provide that the fee not be paid or collected until the actual sale or transfer of title. You've worked your hours and you only collect later, just like employment.
Is that a lawful obligation or it depends on the contract?
Most contracts are changed to that because the problem is do we always close? No. So going to the second paragraph there, it says, in some cases, even after a leasing broker or cooperating broker has produced a buyer who's ready, willing, and able to meet the terms of the listings, right? The listing terms, the deal falls through. In fact, most deals fall through. And it's okay.
Yeah, I know how that feels.
Different paychecks, but yeah.
Yeah.
But in cars is easier. It's
Almost same here.
faster, yeah. Just like
faster process.
they're like rentals. It's ongoing.
But until the
Smaller checks, but
until the
going.
contract and they don't have the keys, you know, and the bank gives the check, you don't have that.
Absolutely. So if the deal falls through, the commission that you've earned might also fall through. Okay? But you might also be entitled to the commission still, even though the deal did not go through. As long as the owner changes her mind and refuses to sell. Is that your fault?
No.
I was going to sell, but not anymore. You've done some work, so you're entitled to get reimbursed. There are defects in the owner's title that are not corrected. Is that your fault? No. The owner commits fraud with respect to the transaction. Is that your fault? They committed fraud. Why is everybody silenced on fraud? I hope you're not involved in this part.
Everybody's suspicious.
Everybody's suspicious, right? Especially the
And
front
I only
row.
did car dealer, I didn't do houses yet, so.
So you know what fraud is.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Car dealers. Anyway. The funniest thing is I haven't yet offended a single car dealer. For 4 years, almost every class I have one. And nobody gets offended when I call them scammers.
Scammers?
I'm sorry, they commit fraud. I mean,
Hey,
Some of that's
I
not
was
true.
trained by somebody.
and that's the excuse. It wasn't me, it was them. It was the
I was
system.
trained by somebody. I
Then-
started as assistant and then I was trained as a seller.
all right.
The person that
Whoever the dealer was. In other words, a broker,
Yes, he's actually our top #1 seller there.
that tells you what.
I ain't saying.
The car dealer? No.
No, the seller. I mean,
yeah.
In other words, a broker generally is due a commission if a sale is not finalized because of the principal's default. So as long as you can pinpoint that your employer, the principal, the client, the seller, or the buyer, whoever you represent, as long as you can pinpoint to their fault, you might be entitled to get the commission.
How does that work? So they're suing the owner, or like how?
So when we get to contract later on in chapter 11, we'll go more in detail, but yeah, we're going to prepare a lawsuit against who the principal is. In fact, if it's a seller, the buyer might sue the seller for compensation. Everybody can sue if one of the parties just backs out. The problem is, how long is this going to take? How are you going to be able to collect? Is it worth it? And a lot of times, I just tell you guys, make sure you have a bunch of deals happening. And if this falls through, next. Keep on going. Next. Don't stop for, like, if you guys watch sports, you know this. People throw themselves on the floor and like, oh, foul, foul. Get up, keep going. They just scored because you were crying on the floor. Does that make sense? You could lose a game because you went and cried.
Better make money.
Keep going, make the money. Right?
The more you have, the more you make.
That's it.
honesty first.
That you didn't learn in your car dealer days. Honesty first. All right. Let's go to page 31. I think maybe one of them. And we're almost ready for a break. All right. Now, the broker is usually entitled to a fee if he or she is the procuring cause of the sale. Procuring cause means you are the one that caused the sale to happen. You brought the buyer, or you brought about the meeting of the minds. right? The agreement. Where several brokers disagree to which one brought about the sale, the one with the best claim to be the procuring cause is often difficult to determine. I want you to skip to where it says meeting of the minds. What is a meeting of the minds? It's some agreement between both parties. These are the terms of my offer, and the seller looks at the terms and says, I like it. They're in agreement. Meeting of the minds. If the seller says, I don't like it, counters. The buyer goes, okay, I like your counter. Let's agree. So as soon as there's an agreement, it is called meeting of the minds.
So when both parties agree.
Yep, when they agree price, down payment, financing method, all that stuff. Next, all the way at the bottom, we have salesperson compensation. There's nothing to highlight. I just want to mention that the compensation of a salesperson is set by mutual agreement between who? Broker and salesperson. This goes back to you're talking about the bonus. Even if it's $1. Yes. It's all between you and your broker, whatever you're going to get paid. You may never, ever, ever accept compensation from any buyer, seller, or broker, except the broker for whom he or she is associated.
You can't accept
Sorry.
nothing from your broker neither?
No, only from your broker. That's it.
Oh.
And that's what I was trying to tell you. I never stop here because you said, well, even if it's $1, yeah, it has to go through your broker. Okay. Okay, right on top, disclosure of agency. It says the broker has the right to reject agency contracts that in his or her judgment violate the ethics or high standards of the office. And in fact, please highlight, underline, put stars. Must reject contracts that would cause the broker to violate the law. Now pay attention. It says, however, after a brokerage relationship has been established, then you are him or her. That's what it says. So if your clients, your principal, if they intend to discriminate or violate the law by hiding defects, you are now liable, or may be liable, for those misrepresentations or unlawful intentions. Does that make sense? That's why you have to know your clients and stop them right away. I cannot work with you. I prefer to lose a client than to lose my credibility. Okay?
So how would you know all of that? Like,
Well, over the years, you'll start scanning people and being able to read them, right? But it is very difficult.
yeah, 'cause
That's why we're going to talk about later. As soon as you know about the problem, you should disclose right away. It might reduce your liability. Okay? All right, so we're going to take a break here at Disclosure of Agency. We're going to come right back because I need your full attention in this section. And I'll tell you why, guys. Thank you for yawning. I'll tell you why. There's coffee back there. The reason being is that there's 110 questions in the state exam. We got this, right? There's 22 chapters. If I divide, I know math at this time might not be good, but I'm going to help you. 110 divided by 22 is 5. That would mean there will be 5 questions per chapter. Well, in this section that we're going to go over, this section alone has 5 or 6 questions. Just this section, not the chapter, this section. And that's why we're going to take a break, come back refreshed, and hit the ground running, right? So it's 8:30 right now, 10 minutes, okay? Whoever's watching from home, we'll be right back.